In the last few years, North America has seen the birth of what is rapidly becoming a strong and vibrant hip-hop scene in the South Asian community. Second and third generation Punjabis have been leading the charge and driving this momentum, and nowhere is this better seen than on the east coast of Canada, in Toronto. There are few artists on the scene that can claim to be the face of this movement than one man who's become something of a poster boy for 21st century Desi hip-hop. His rhymes have become well known, and some lines have even made their way into everyday vocabulary of Sikhs and Punjabis across the globe. We met Humble the Poet.
I just try to find things that I understand, and I just try to re-articulate them. And the hip-hop that I grew up listening to, because I was very pretentious as a child, and I was like, you know, hip-hop, you shouldn't listen to the stuff that talks about alcohol or women, what have you. And so I would search out and try to find artists that inspire me. Later on, I realized that I need to find the inspiration myself as opposed to having it overt. But I grew up listening to, Common, Outkast. I never listened to any of the East Coast or West Coast hip hop. I never grew up on. I never listened to a Biggie or Tupac track until after they died. I was listening to all sorts of music. Remember, I started in my bedroom. You know, probably 95% of the tracks that I have released were recorded on $200 worth of equipment. Okay, and now only recently have my resources increased so a track like Boggy, for example, was professionally recorded, right? But like Middle Ring Pinky, I recorded it in my bedroom. I emailed it to Technology, who lives 5 hours away. He mixes it all together, he puts it out.
You're making moves or you're making an excuse. Vocabulary used in aligning with the truth. Talk is cheap when your speech don't match your feet. They so far apart, so connected with your heart. If I fall on 7, then I'm gonna get a 8. Consistency's insisting that we're gonna keep it great. Competing with the heathen just to see who bears defeat. I'm a chess player, baby, you a chess piece. Think about it now. Don't speak about it, be about it now. Don't speak about it, be about it.
I don't think my ability to rap or my ability to be an MC or my ability to articulate myself is some sort of a genetic gift or anything like that. It really is a lot of hard work, and I think now I've been doing this long enough where if you YouTube and you listen to some of my 09 stuff versus my 2011 stuff, I hopefully I've shown some growth. I think what I'm kind of naturally inclined in terms of my learning style is I do a lot of observing, and I observe things, and I try not to evaluate what I observe. I just try to observe it and I try to make sense of it. And what I use a lot of analogies. And I used to be an elementary school teacher, so we really had to simplify everything that we did. So I think a lot of it comes from there, taking some concepts and figuring out, okay, well, it makes sense to me because I relate to this and relate to that. Where I come from, if you make claims, you're going to be tested. And you've seen that with other artists who have said a couple of things and they've had to pay the price because of that. Yeah. And me, so I always try don't open your mouth, you might get punched in the nose. So I've always just kind of talked about what I've seen, and I really try to throw an opinion in there, right? And I'm sure it probably comes across as very opinionated, but I really think it's more observing versus opinion. I was born and raised in Toronto. I'm extremely proud of that, and I think a lot of who I am had to do with that.
In the crowd, they all stopped, all shocked, all lost, unsure when that ball drops. But it's rolling, bullet holes all in the walls now. The halls now full of bodies all down. All sounds drowned out by the rounds now. As they pound down, our spirits on the ground found. No signs of life, no signs of hope, or some calm now. But it's on now. Woke up behind, it's the lion, it's Punjab.
Humble the Poet has been lauded by an online audience for addressing issues that affect the South Asian community, but which are largely ignored by mainstream art and media. His ability to put these issues into a lyrical format show that his talent is not just a fad.
So the news outside of me going on my local city news website just to see what's happening, it'll just be whatever hashtags I find on Twitter and whatever the popular topics are. But no, I don't try. But when I do hear a talk, I try my best to know as much. Because again, the last thing I want to do is, sound like I'm talking out my ass by saying a bunch of stuff and it turns out not to be true. And I've done that. I've done that on multiple occasions where I was ill-informed, I spoke out too quick. And so now I try to make a huge effort to kind of strengthen my foundation in whatever comes out of my mouth. And that requires research. Sometimes, you have a conversation with a friend and they say some epic line that totally just inspires you that day. It's like, all right, now how can I take this and expand it? Or how can I take this awesome book that I just read and condense it? Right? Because sometimes, you hear an awesome song, you literally want to shove it down your friend's throat and you want them to enjoy it as much as you do. Sometimes I just hear crazy facts that I've never heard before and I just want to share it with the world. And I don't know, the best, and it's very much on that. And I really feel that I want to connect with everybody. That's what it is. The goal is to connect with people. And the success that I found is I just say stuff that makes sense in my head. The way it makes sense in my head would be the way I would talk to you, and hopefully it makes sense in your head. But you're not gonna get through to everybody, and that's not my goal. Everybody wears a different shoe size.
Feel the fire river flow, heart in your veins, we boggy go. Feel the fire river flow, heart in your veins, we boggy go. Go, go boggy, boggy. Go, go boggy, boggy. Go, go boggy, boggy. Throw your hands up, mop and jump in. Go, go boggy, boggy. Go, go boggy, boggy. Go, go boggy, boggy. Rebel music all around.
In the high schools, Upper can throw a name into this conversation and not be worried about it. My hope was, if you talked about your favorite rappers, you can throw Humble the Poet in there and I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not a novelty act. You don't hear me rapping over Tumbis, you don't hear those in the background. I actually show respect to the art form for what it is. Yeah. And I think all it was okay, let's see in our community now, where's the voices needed? What things aren't being discussed? Because what things are only being discussed behind closed doors? You know what I mean? And that's kind of where Voice for the Voiceless came out, because talking about the AIDS rates in our community, are much higher than anybody would ever expect. But due to doctor-patient confidentiality, it may not come out, right? Or taboos.
With more and more artists utilising the internet, both the number and frequency of music releases is much greater than when Humble the Poet started out. The talent always shines through, and the better music will always rise to the top.
We need to realize that content in itself is not good enough. You understand? It's not only what you say is important, but how you say it is extremely important. Because if the good advice was strong enough, then we would all be fine just listening to our parents, because our parents are giving us some of the best advice, but they don't know how to package it the same way. And when I started listening to these artists, they were giving me that same advice, but they would do a better job. If you play now, you're gonna suffer later. They just said it, and then you're gonna either listen to them or you're gonna live it and realize it and be like, wait, they made sense. So now they have a little bit more credibility. Let me hear what else they have to say. So I try to take that approach, and I try to look at what worked for me. By being yourself, you'll realize you have so much in common, and it just takes a little bit more self-reflection to realize that. Yeah. So, and Toronto is such a diverse place, and it's done such a great job of molding me for that. So I never have to really make a conscious effort to be like, how can I connect to these people? How can I connect to those people? And then as you start looking inside, you start connecting to other people that you previously thought you had nothing in common with. So the more I learn about what was happening to the people in Punjab, you see the parallels to the people in Palestine. You see the parallels to people in Sri Lanka. You see the parallels to anybody who's dealing with tyranny or oppression. You're like, whoa, we're all in the same boat, right? And then new connections are being made. I'm making connections. So when I always say Toronto, I'm from there. It's not. It requires zero effort for me to make a connection to people in Toronto. We have way more in common than we have differences.
Humble the Poet is online at www.humblethepoet.com, where you can download his work.